The Libyan capital Tripoli remains under siege tonight. Snipers are at large, with sporadic gun battles breaking out right across the city. Today, fighting centred around apartment blocks where rebels thought Gaddafi and his sons may have been hiding. But if he'd ever been there, the colonel had fled by the time the rebels broke in.
As that battle raged, a new audio message said to be from Gaddafi called on his supporters to march on Tripoli. The situation there remains tense, and the Transitional Council is yet to take a grip. With concerns growing among NATO allies, we talk to the Foreign Secretary. But first, our senior correspondent James Mate sent this report from Tripoli.
Out of nowhere, the battle that still rages in Tripoli was on our doorstep. The hotel where most of the international press are staying and which had been considered relatively safe was engulfed in a gun battle between rebels and what they believed was a Gaddafi loyalist sniping from a high building.
Sniper.
It ended as suddenly as it had started, but it was typical of the firefights that are still making life so difficult for everyone in this city. Further south in the city, the rebels have managed to liberate large numbers of political prisoners held in the notorious Busalim jail. Many had been held by the regime ever since the uprising began more than 6 months ago. As their guards fled, the prisoners themselves beat down the doors of their cells, in which many had been routinely beaten and tortured. This afternoon we met one of those who escaped, Abdul Hakim Aloze, now back home and reunited with his daughter Mayaz. In the months he'd been held, he confirmed the worst of the stories we'd heard about Gaddafi's jails.
He said he was captured. He said they put him in a cell, they tortured him, they beated him repeatedly, and they did everything possible, in order to get some information for him.
For the most part, the fighting and the weaponry have moved to the south of Tripoli. The rebels are now convinced they have this battle won. The one piece of news they do want to hear, though, is that Gaddafi has been captured. And this evening, rumours spread through rebel ranks that they may, just may, have members of the Gaddafi family, possibly even the colonel himself, surrounded in a building near his compound. Apartment blocks near Bab al-Azia were stormed and doors kicked in amid heavy fire from both sides. A short time ago, those rumours, perhaps not surprisingly, turned out to be false, but the reaction to them shows the importance that's being put on capturing the man who has the power to end this war.
Well, James, first of all, let's deal with this television address that the Colonel made earlier on today. We know that he talked about purifying Tripoli of rebels, but what else did he have to say?
Well, that was the essence of it. In many ways, it was a voice from the bunker commanding armies and divisions that he simply doesn't have. In this case, asking all his supporters that he still believes, apparently he has, in Tripoli and elsewhere to rise up on his behalf. The enemy will be defeated, he claimed. You are the majority. Do not give up Tripoli. Well, I can tell you from our experience here, his supporters are most certainly not the majority. March on Tripoli, he said. Purify the capital of traitors, and he called them rats, crusaders and unbelievers. Well, we've heard it all before, but it doesn't make it any less dangerous, because what it does is make sure that the fighting goes on, as we keep seeing here.
And James, the chaos really does seem to be almost total. Rumours running riot. The idea that he might have been in an apartment block and evidently wasn't. The search is clearly getting pretty desperate.
It is getting desperate because they realise that this is the key to ending this dreadful fighting. The rebels have announced an amnesty for any member of Gaddafi's inner circle who now betrays him. They will be allowed to live their lives in peace. A group of businessmen here have offered $1.7 million, a lot of money anywhere, but a very considerable amount here, to anyone who will betray him, because they don't want this fighting in Tripoli to continue. They don't want to now have to fight the battle up in Sirte, his hometown. They believe if they can only capture him, this can end.
All right, James, for the moment, thank you.